Hey, everybody, tune in to Recent Tartarians.
Recent Tartarians. Recent Tartarians.
These great things about the Roman Empire. Now, the Roman Empire was supposed to be in Europe, in Italy, starting from there. And they are supposed to have had the Latin language, and the Latin language spread to France, Spain, Romania, Italy. And from there, we've got a modern Italian. Because the Roman Empire is like the heart of the history that we know. Yes, it goes back 2,000, 3,000 years. Now, have a look at this and check this out. Yeah, I've just sent you Wikipedia, and people can check it themselves. Around 1860 or 1850, only 2% of the people in Italy spoke Italian. Have you got hold of that?
I'm seeing this, and I can corroborate even just going to Italy, because in parts of northern Italy, they still don't speak Italian. They speak German.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And the thing is that many people, their grandparents are still alive. They can ask them. And their grandparents will say, my grandparents didn't speak Italian at all. So now we've got a serious problem here. Yeah, because they're telling us that the Italian Bible was published in the 16th, 17th century. And for the next 200-300 years, people were reading the Bible in Italian.
So
nobody spoke.
Is it nobody who spoke, or who spoke Italian? Is it some small part of Italy?
The 2% who spoke it, I'll give you an example now, are the people who are in government and who went to the government schools. Like, for example, in America, you've got the CIA training schools. Yes?
Yeah.
So it's actually less than 2%. Have you got hold of the picture? So now we've got a problem now. What about the Bible? In Italian, it's been around since the 16th, 17th century, and now nobody could read this. And now what's even worse, yeah, you can go throughout Europe, they're going to say the Renaissance started in Italy. Now, look at the picture I've just sent you. This is from a library called the Girolamo Library, or Girolamo Library in Italy. And you can see thousands of books there. Yeah, in fact, they tell you that millions of books were printed throughout the Renaissance and after that in the next 2-3 centuries. Yes. So who were they printing these books for if nobody could speak Italian? Now, for example, they turn around and say that the output of the printing press was 20 million volumes and was going up in the 16th century to between 150 to 200 million copies. Renaissance printing. But now we've got nobody speaks Italian. So we're talking about the Renaissance, 15th, 16th century here. So that's the first. Now let's dig a bit even deeper. Now I'm sending you more information. People can check this. In the year 1800, around the year 1800, only 10% of the people could speak French in France. Only 10%.
What do they speak in France?
Now the thing is, so when you ask them what did they speak, they're just going to give you a bogus history and saying they were speaking that, blah, blah, blah. So now the problem we've got is, what about these French books that they were printing? For example, there is the Olivetan Bible, not the Olivetan Bible, the French Bible. I'm not sure when it was first made, in the 15th or 14th century. Yeah, and things like that. Yeah, so we've got a problem. We've got nobody speaking French. They say 10%, yeah, but those 10% spoke it reasonably. Il dit 10%, comme ça, il parle français, mais c'est pas beaucoup, c'est un peu. So I know what is reasonable French. So so officially 10% of the people spoke it reasonably and 90% did speak it. They just knew a few basic words, and because the French language was related to some of the other local languages, but 50% of the people basically couldn't speak any French at all, blah, blah, blah. So we've got a problem. And they say maximum 15% spoke it, but they were like the state agents and people who were going to the church control schools. So we've got these serious problems now. What about all these Renaissance, thousands and thousands of books that you're going to go to in Paris? You'll go to the museums and the National Library, Bibliothèque Nationale, or whatever they call it. So who are they printing these books for? Ghosts? And the amount of books they've got, are they all forgeries? Is that a problem now? Now, if they didn't speak French in France, and French is a Latin language, and they didn't speak Italian in Italy, and that's a Latin language, the two main centers of the Roman Empire, And what about the Roman Empire? What about the Latin language? Let's go back to that question that you asked me about. Latin backwards, what did you say?
Yeah, is it Etruscan? Because the Etruscan language, it looks like it's backwards.
Now I'll give you an example. You can compare this yourself of Latin backwards. I'll give you an example of a postcard that's from Latin America. Yes, Latin America in the earlier 20th century. So they had to write normal Latin like we write English and French and Spanish today. They had to write that for the postal service, the official postal service in South America. Yes, but on the actual postcard itself, they wrote Latin backwards. Yeah, it's because that's how the normal people wrote it in Europe. Yes, until the people in power changed everything. And then when they changed everything, it changed. Let me just look for an example of postcards. This is just a normal postcard by a normal person. So it's not a manuscript that's written by the official churches or by people who are working for the state. Yeah. So when you have a look at this, if they actually saw how ordinary people were doing their writing.
Well, it's interesting that it connects so much to Leonardo da Vinci writing backwards, supposedly. They have this whole idea that he had secret notes because he was writing backwards. But if it's not backwards, and it's just the way the language was written and spoken before the Latinization, that's a very interesting idea.
Yes, before the Latinization. So now, what is this language that's before the Latinization? It's actually shocking. This is somewhere from South America. I think it's being posted to Europe. Or there's many things like this, and they turn around and say that most of the documents that were similar from the 18th, 19th century were destroyed during World Wars I and II, blah, blah, blah. Now, when you look at this postcard, you will notice that when they're writing the address, they're writing Latin forwards. Ooh. Now, when they're actually writing the letter, they're writing the letter Latin backwards. Now, when you write Latin backwards, guess what it is mysteriously? It looks exactly the same like Arabic. Most people don't know this. Now, the shocking thing is, unfortunately, many people won't want to hear it. It's because we've grown up in a society where we've been brought up so that we just can't stand anything to do with Arabs, Middle East, blah, blah, blah. But the thing, Latin backwards is basically Arabic. Speak about the Jewish people. 100, 200 years ago, they were called the children of Israel. The Jewish people, when somebody says the Jewish people, there was 12 tribes, which is known. So especially Spain and most of the Jews in the world, more than 90% of the Jews, yes, until the 20th century, spoke Arabic all over the world. I've just given you an example.
Right.
Yeah. Have you received it?
I'm seeing
medieval Jews spoke Arabic. They were writing in Arabic. It was basically their language was Arabic.
I'm seeing
now we've got
Spain,
a problem
so.
Because if the Jewish people are speaking, Arabic,
the local
yes,
language,
for at least 1.5 to 2,000 years. If Jesus Christ lived 1,000 years ago or 2,000 years ago, and he came for his brothers, what language were his brothers speaking?
So a lot of them were speaking Arabic. There's also this...
No, 90%, more than 90%, the majority.
So they're just trying to avoid, they're avoiding the elephant in the room, because clearly, if you think about it, we know that the Arabs were all over Europe. They were controlling it was the language that was spoken. We're seeing examples that the Jews in Spain were speaking Arabic. So the lingua franca in France and in Spain and in Italy, you're saying this was Arabic. And that makes perfect sense.
Now, this is from Wikipedia and many other places. You can check this out. The language Hebrew was not spoken at all until the 20th century. The 20th century means that only in the 1950s and 60s you could find people who spoke Hebrew fluently. The language basically did not exist.
And it's been
now,
created,
another thing is you can see here, what I've sent you here, I've just sent you now, is that Hebrew was not spoken at all for the last 2,000 years.
Elijah ben Yehuda had to invent new words for modern Hebrew. Yeah, it's talking about a lot of the inventions of new words for
Now, I'm going to make this easy for you because people don't understand what invent means. Arabic and Hebrew today have an estimated 60% the same words.
And grammar,
The first Hebrew dictionary was written after 1880 by a man named Ben Yehuda, and he was from Lithuania. Now, what did he do? He invented a lot of new words. So that's why there's 40% difference. Now, let's see what Ben Yehuda said himself. The man who invented the modern Hebrew language, he wrote the Hebrew dictionary. And let's see what he said. I've sent you a link here now. This is from Wikipedia and from Haaretz, a major national newspaper in Israel.
Wow, this is crazy. Okay.
Now, but wait till you hear what he said. Now, Ben Yehuda, he's the creator and the inventor of the modern Hebrew language. He was a humanist. People can check what humanists are. Now, this is what he said. He said that the roots or the heart of the Arabic language were originally part of the Hebrew language. He said that these Arabic roots were mysteriously lost. Oh, how could they be lost if the Jews were speaking Arabic anyway? And then he said they were found again when he wrote the dictionary. And he found the roots of the Hebrew language within the Arabic language. And then they invented modern Hebrew. But let me go through this, because this is really serious. And then he turned around and says to create modern Hebrew language, he was able to do this by turning to the Arabic language. He said he did this because he followed the example of our, quote, ancient scholars. Who the hell are these ancient scholars? He said that ancient scholars, when they created Hebrew, they did it with Arabic. So he's even saying himself that Hebrew was originally created from Arabic.
Yeah,
and then he says he's following their example and he's doing the same thing. And Hebrew was not a spoken language. Even then, it was spoken for the last 2,000 years by Jewish people. So, no, Arabic was spoken by the Jewish people. Now, Eliezer ben Yehuda and other researchers, they turned around and said that in the Hebrew Bible and in the Mishnah and in the Talmud, these religious books of modern Judaism, he said that these words, most of them have got Arabic roots, hundreds of Arabic roots. Basically, they're Arabic words. And he said to understand the Hebrew in the Old Testament, and the Talmud and the Mishnah, it was easy to understand it through the Arabic language. In simple words, he said the Arabic language made it easy to invent the modern Hebrew language. And many words found in the Bible, the Mishnah and the Talmud were actually Arabic.
Yeah,
and the Arabic was the language that Jews are speaking. But now we've got a serious problem. Because the thing is, if the Jews were speaking Arabic for 2,000 years, why is the Bible written in Hebrew? Yes. Because imagine if the English are speaking English, then why would English history be written in Chinese?
Okay.
So imagine if you're Jewish for 2,000 years, you're speaking Arabic, you're writing all your books in Arabic, then of course your Torah is going to be in which language?
I saw some of this examples of the Torah being in Arabic Torahs all across Spain.
It will be in Arabic.
The earliest Torahs they have are in Arabic. That's what I was finding.
Yes. So if they're going to be in Arabic, so now we've got a serious problem. Yes. What are all these Hebrew books doing there? Do you really think that the Hebrew Bibles were actually used by the Jews for 2,000 years if they couldn't even speak this Hebrew language? And the Hebrew words are actually, in the Bible, are actually Arabic words. And now we've got another problem. During the Inquisitions were in Holland, in Germany, everywhere, 16th, 17th, 18th century, things like this, Spain. Yes? Do you know what they did? They burnt all the Jewish books, and the Jewish books were all written in Arabic. Yeah, their books were in Arabic and their books were burnt.
God.
So this means the original Hebrew Bibles were in Arabic and they were burnt. And then the people who burnt them was the Vatican. And the Vatican replaced it, yes, with Hebrew. And what is Hebrew? It's just a mixture of Arabic words. So the Old Testament is actually Hebrew. So now all these Jewish books, religious books, are being burnt and they're being replaced with modern Hebrew Bibles after the 15th century, 16th century. And believe it or not, that's when these Hebrew Bibles and Mishnahs and Talmuds were mysteriously published. And the Jews couldn't even speak this Hebrew language until the 20th century. The majority spoke Arabic until the 18th century. Now the Bible, actually, most of the words, whoever wrote the Bible, yes, actually wrote down all these Arabic words. Same like Eliezer ben Yehuda, who wrote a dictionary to compile the entire Hebrew language for that time, when they were creating the modern Hebrew language. So he basically went through almost all the words in the Hebrew Bible and the Mishnah and the Torah, him and his committee. Yes, they went through all the words and they said these words are Arabic. But now the worst thing is, anybody who reads that, who's an expert in Arabic, will say, whoever wrote this, wrote it as if they had very bad knowledge of Arabic, that basically somebody, you could say from China or Japan or South Korea, who studied English for a year, and then they're trying to write the Bible. But now we've got a problem. If the Jewish people were speaking Arabic, Jesus Christ must have spoken Arabic. This is such a serious thing that many people have not considered. Christ really existed, and if he was Jewish,
or Yeshua, whatever we call him,
and if he did speak Arabic, and if there was this kingdom of God, many people are saying there was a kingdom of God for 1,000 years. And if the European people followed Jesus Christ, and if Jesus Christ spoke Arabic, then do you know what we will find? This means that we should find Arabic writing all over Europe, everywhere. Now, the thing is, if you're looking for Arabic coins throughout history for the last 2,000 years, yeah, you're going to find where they found the majority of the coins. I've just sent it you, examples. Yes, you're going to find that 80% of the Arabic coins have been found in Europe, not in the Middle East, not in India, not in Africa, not in Uzbekistan. And then when you find these coins, do you know what they tell you? They tell you that these coins came from Uzbekistan near Afghanistan. For example, I've just sent you the link that I've just sent you. It says 125 million dirhams, Arabic coins, were imported into Northern Europe just in the 10th century. Can you believe this? They're telling us that Europe basically imported all its currency. Some of it is basically Uzbekistan, Afghanistan. And they're telling us from Afghanistan and Uzbekistan, strange places, they're just telling us some ridiculous history. Now, I'm sending you an investigative study from Oxford University. And people can check this investigative study. It's very suspicious. So now, there's historians have got no answer. That the biggest currency in Europe, all over, France, England, Poland, Germany, Sweden, Norway, Italy, Spain, Switzerland, Austria, Greece, Bulgaria, you're just going to find Arabic coins. And then, you know what? So they turn around and say, hey, they were importing these coins. Now, on Oxford University does a study. And do you know what they say? For example, they found 1 million silver currency. Yes, in Northern Europe. And do you know what they're saying? Yeah, these coins mysteriously came from Iraq, the deserts of Iraq or somewhere, and they mysteriously ended up in the Baltics and in England and places like that. And then they're saying, oh, they ended up here because the people in places like Afghanistan, Uzbekistan, Iraq, Kuwait were buying European slaves or Germans. They were just buying Germans. They were sending all this gold and silver coins. All these coins that mysteriously say there is no God except Allah. Almost like the Europeans don't have none of their currency. And it's like the ridiculous story that they're saying. And then the thing is, they turn around and say the Germans were barbarians, the Vikings were barbarians. And then they turn around and say these people were barbarians, uneducated. They couldn't have their own currencies. So they said this is why these people, they were just using the Arabic coins from the other side of the world. Which sounds ridiculous. Yes, and these coins, it's not like today's coins, they're actual gold and actual silver. And so they're telling us that these people in the Middle East, not even there, even worse, in Uzbekistan and places like that, were so rich they were exporting hundreds of millions of coins of gold and silver coins just to Europe. And the Europeans don't have their currency in many of these places. Then you'll find all these coins from the Middle Ages with the Star of David. I've just sent you the Star of David with Arabic on them. And you'll find these, have a look at what these Arabic coins are. And we all know the fighting between Israel and the Palestinians and the Star of David.
Absolutely.
Well, here I've just sent you the Star of David. You'll find all these coins throughout the Middle Ages, and they've all got Arabic writing on. And they're supposed to be Jewish coins or Muslim coins. And it just doesn't make sense. There's no Hebrew on these coins. So and then one of the greatest masterpieces, so if the Jews were speaking Arabic, then this means King David, did he speak Latin or did he speak Hebrew? So now Arabic, the worst thing is, I thought I'll have a look at this. This is a statue of King David. It's one of the biggest masterpieces. It's in the Museum Nacional del what's it called, in Florencia in Italy. And I've sent you a statue. It's actually one of the greatest masterpieces in history. And do you know what the strangest thing is? This statue of King David, one of the greatest masterpieces in the whole world, has mysteriously got Arabic writing on it.
No.
And it's from the Middle Ages.
What the heck?
I've just sent it you. Yes, and these Stars of David from the Middle Ages, they've got Arabic writings on them.
Where's the Arabic writing on the David? I don't see the Arabic yet.
I've just sent it you. I've sent you the latest picture.
Oh my God, this is not on the shield plating, like the Vikings and stuff with the Arabic writing.
So now the thing is, now many people are not aware of it. Let's have a look at the Renaissance time. After they started expelling Jews and Arabs and Muslims, and they were killing them and burning them in inquisitions and blah blah blah. Yes, before that we've got one of the greatest masterpieces of the Middle Ages and the Renaissance is the painting I've just sent you. and they say it's by Gentile de Fabriano. Yes, and he's from 1423. That they will say he spoke Italian. We can't find these Italian languages. Yeah, it's just a fraud. Yes, and this picture is called The Adoration of the Magi, or The Birth of Jesus Christ. It's one of the greatest masterpieces in history. People can check it.
Wow.
And do you know what the worst thing is? Yeah, check some of these great masterpieces. Yeah, they've got Arabic written on it. So now we've got a problem. If it's got Arabic on it, yeah?
In the halo? Oh man.
Yes.
There's a halo with Arabic on.
Bishop of Toulouse City is where the Cathars were based. Yes, Cathars and the Knights Templar were linked to them, and they got burnt and they got dealt with by the Vatican. Yes, the Vatican didn't like it because they said that they refused to follow the Vatican. But anyway, these people, I've just sent you a painting of the Bishop of Toulouse, and he's got Arabic writing on his head. So we've got all these problems. And now the biggest Gothic, we don't know what the history of Gothic cathedrals are. Now, the worst thing is, if we look at the biggest Gothic cathedral in the world, it's known as Seville Cathedral. But now the worst thing is, Seville Cathedral, when you try to find out its history, yes, it's very suspicious. They tell you it was a mosque and it was taken over. This is all we know. So it's very suspicious. What I mean is, it's because in these cathedrals, many of these cathedrals, they found Arabic coins and they found Arabic writing in a lot of cathedrals. It just doesn't make sense. And they found these skulls and bones from the 17th, 18th century. Now, everyone knows that the Crusades, yeah, the Crusaders were from Germany and France and from England, mainly from Germany and France. So now let's have a look at it. During the Crusades, Europe was, they say, the Holy Roman Empire. The Holy Roman Empire, they say Charlemagne and then Charles Martel and things like that. I've sent you a painting of to show who they are. You must have heard of the Holy Roman Empire. Now, here is the coronation clothes of the Holy Roman Emperor. The Holy Roman Empire only dissolved in the 18th century. But around the 14th, 15th century or 16th century, something happened to it. But have a look at it. We've got the coronation clothes of the Holy Roman Emperor, and he's got Arabic writing on there as well.
This is great.
The coins in Europe are Arabic as well. The books were in Arabic until the Vatican burned them. What the hell is going on? There's many Arabic words on the clothes of the Holy Roman Emperors, of the Christian Crusader emperors, which doesn't make sense. Why didn't they write Latin? Why didn't they write Hebrew? Why didn't they write Greek? So this means that the history of these languages is a lie. So now it's even worse, because now after the Crusaders in the 14th, 15th century, what we've got is Venice was great. They told us after the Crusades, Venice was fighting the Muslims in the Mediterranean. So now the strange thing is, it was in Canada next door to you, Royal Ontario Museum. They've got lots of swords from the Navy of Venice, yes, and German soldiers. The Navy of Venice had German soldiers. And what's strange is that these German soldiers wrote their names or other things. They wrote them down in Arabic and not Italian, not Latin, not German. I've sent you an example. Okay, what do you think is going on here?
Was this the Italian and German swords with Arabic lettering? 1999, about a dozen of Italian and German swords of the 13th and 14th century were exhibited in the Royal Ontario Museum in Toronto, Canada. 2 of them can be seen in Figure 3. Okay. And one cannot help but noticing the Italian and German swords are decorated with Arabic lettering. Okay.
Let's talk about Eastern Europe. What about the Russians and the Slavs, Ukraine, etc.? We've been told that these Russians, or Ruski, yes, that they were Christians too, followers of Jesus Christ. So now if Jesus Christ spoke Arabic and the Jews were speaking Arabic, then we're going to find lots of Arabic writing all over Russia. Now here is the helmets of an example. I'll send you one, but you can find many. An example of the helmets of the princes and the kings of Russia. What do you see there? This is of the Tsar, Ivan the Terrible, all these others, Alexander Nevsky, Alexei Roman. You see Arabic.
The cap of Erechon, the Arabic crown of Tsar Alexei Mikhailovich. There's no way that's not Arabic. I don't know what else to say.
Okay, now I'm sending you the most common currency in Russia until the 17th, 18th century. Yes, this was the common currency of Russia during the Middle Ages. Yes, it's just got Arabic on it, and it says La ilaha illallah.
But what's their excuse for this?
No God except.
How do they dismiss this? If this is clearly what they're using, what's the deal?
Yes, it's because nobody's checking.
But why?
The worst thing in Europe and America, Andreas, you're doing all these shows. You're checking all these things online. People just check something, they're not going to open up the originals.
Wow.
the world is lazy, so it's their fault the world is a mess. And if anyone's going to say that the globalists are taking over the world and they're going to do their antichrist system, so be it. It serves the world right. Maybe the people deserve it.
If they're not paying
It's
attention.
because the people did nothing about it. They're not checking. Okay, let's go to England now and to Ireland. This is one of the oldest Carolingian. It's a Carolingian cross from the 9th century. It was found in Ballacotton in Ireland. And now inside that cross, we don't know what the symbol of the cross is. Inside it's got Arabic writing written on it, which says, "In the name of Allah." Yes. So we're going to find these things all over Europe, and it doesn't make sense. The history of Europe, it's actually even worse. That they're clearly telling lies. It's just so scary what they're telling us, because there's just too much evidence that there's something wrong. Yes. Now I sent you. Let's go to Russia's 2 main museums, where they've got thousands of coins, swords, thousands of things. Yes, relics for their history, for their country. Yes, let's look at the Kremlin Museum and Alexandrovskaya Museum. Yes, and the Kolomenskoye complex. Now, this is from the words of Professor Anatoly Fomenko, who is from Moscow State University, the #1 university in Russia. And do you know what he's quoted here? He said, "In the museum, we can't find anything that doesn't seem to have Arabic writing. All these Middle Ages, medieval swords, everything. Basically everything has got Arabic writing. Nothing with Latin, Greek, Hebrew, Slavic, nothing." Come on. Andrea,
could it be that they're very, it says the Slavic inscriptions are nothing but, could it be that there are very few such pieces to be found amidst the, quote, Russo-Arabic majority? Okay, there you go.
Yes. The thing is, they've all got Arabic. Now, it's not just 1 or 2 crowns of the princes. Here's the helmet of Alexander Nevsky. Alexander Nevsky, he was very famous. He's still so famous throughout Eastern Europe today. This church called Alexander Nevsky, a beautiful one in Bulgaria. Have a look at his helmet. You can clearly see Arabic on them. So we got these problems, and nobody seems to be talking about it. Yeah, all these swords, and it's like when people walk into the Kremlin museums and all these things, they won't realize it. You've got to have a look very carefully. Like, for example, you'll see all these things and you'll think medieval knights in shining armor. Yeah, but nobody would ever imagine, oh my God, they've got Arabic on them. Nobody seems to think these things. So we got a problem. But in Istanbul, the major language there was Arabic until the 20th century.
Not Turkish?
Yeah, which is surprising. I couldn't believe this myself. Yes, now I've sent you information that you can check. This is from, I think it's from Pennsylvania, one of the universities there. The Ottoman Turkish language, yes, words, basically it was 80% Persian and Arabic. Now when somebody says Persian, the Persian language, yes, before the year 1900 was 80% Arabic anyway, yes? And the Turkish language was 80% Arabic and Persian. So basically it was Arabic. And they were using Arabic letters. So now the thing is, mysteriously, they changed this. Yes, they changed the Turkish language, they changed the Arabic language in Turkey, and they removed it in the 20th century. But the thing is, let's focus on the facts, that the language was basically Arabic. This thing is so exciting because the thing is, Jesus Christ, where did he live? Yes?
Right.
Now, the thing is, where did he live? Because this is going to shock you too. Yes? Because you could, especially in the Balkans, because the Balkans, Yugoslavia, one thing that survived in Yugoslavia, especially in Serbia and many other places, many people still remember Jerusalem of Jesus Christ. And they say something about this city that you will find strange. Now, I'm going to show you this. So now in Istanbul, the language was Arabic. Yes, the coins in Europe are basically Arabic. Yes. So now in Istanbul, let's have a look at this, and you can read this out. The Jerusalem of Jesus Christ.
Constantinople, known as the New Jerusalem. Saint Simeon the Stylite, Jerusalem, namely Constantinople. The biblical Jerusalem is identified with medieval Constantinople. Constantinople, Jerusalem, the expected place of the second coming. Okay.
Expected? Yes. And what were people doing at that time?
This is exactly how it was described by medieval pilgrims that were journeying to Constantinople.
People are going there.
Right.
Because this is the place where Jesus Christ, they're expecting him to come here.
Oh, their own Mecca in Turkey. All right.
And wait, how long is the Middle Ages? 1,000 years. Wait a minute, they're waiting for Jesus Christ to come to Istanbul, and Istanbul was known as Jerusalem. It was never called Constantinople. That's a scam as well. You'll soon find out. Yes. So now we've got a problem. This is why, yes, people are sat there, they're believing these Greek Gospels. Jesus Christ didn't speak Greek. Yeah. Jesus Christ must have spoken the language that all his people were speaking. And they were speaking Arabic. And Istanbul, this is why it was important that I showed you. Istanbul, the language was Arabic. And Jesus Christ, if people were going through during the Middle Ages, it sounds crazy at first. Yes? During the Middle Ages for 1,000 years, Istanbul, to the people of Europe, was called Jerusalem. I've sent you from Yahoo search. Have you found it? Constantinople.
Right. History, Constantinople was perceived as a holy city, the second Jerusalem. Though it keeps saying second, like New York, you were saying. The expected place of the second coming. This is exactly how it was described by the medieval pilgrims who moved in this city from one shrine to another as in a spatial icon whose sacred meaning was much more important than its architectural and archaeological realities. Okay, so then if they're saying the second coming is happening here and this is the new Jerusalem, are they saying that there's an older Jerusalem somewhere else, and why are they not there?
Historians just saying new. So historians are going to say, Jesus Christ spoke Hebrew or Aramaic. Yeah, when historians say something, normally you find it to be a lie. So now we've got a serious problem. Yes, we've got a serious problem. Istanbul was called Jerusalem for 1,000 years. That even people, because in the Balkans, they weren't as modernized as Western Europe, for the last 100 years. So many people in the Balkans still remember this. Yes, we've got this problem. Many people, and not only that, what's even worse, what's even worse about this Jerusalem thing, let me just show you. You will find this very strange. Yes, the Crusades happened 1,000 years after Jesus Christ died. Yes, can you imagine that? Imagine 1,000 years after Adolf Hitler is dead, people start the Second World War 1,000 years later. That would sound stupid. So now Jesus Christ has just died, and 1,000 years later, the people start crusades. And they're all going to Jerusalem to go to the crusades. But the thing is, because the church wrote the history, we can find many lies. But in some of the documents, we found out that these crusades, especially the fourth one, went to Jerusalem, and Jerusalem was Constantinople. Have you received the new page that I've sent you?
Yeah, Fourth Crusade. 1095 to 1216. Wow.
The target ended up being in Jerusalem, in Constantinople. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
So now the people of Europe, they called it Jerusalem. Yes, this was Jerusalem. They're even going to crusades to go and fight there. Yes. So now this is even worse. They're going to go to crusades and they're burning this city down. And when they go on crusades, do you know what they were doing on these crusades?
Burning books? I wonder.
They were burning Bibles.
Yeah, okay.
And they went 1,000 years later. Do you know what's so strange? People can check the history of the Crusades out. What is so strange is that they were burning all these Greek Gospels. Yes, they walked into Constantinople. So if these are Germans, the English, the French, the Dutch, the Austrians, the Swiss, the Italians, they're going on the Crusades. These people, some of them Knights Templar, whoever, Teutonic Knights, whatever, they're going on crusades. They arrive in Constantinople, the greatest Christian city in the world, the biggest city in the world. What are they doing? They're burning Bibles. Now, this is very strange, yes, that they're burning Bibles and burning churches. Yes?
Just a total cover-up. Try to get rid of all the history they can and put in a new
So now the
history.
thing is, if this is the people of Europe, they're burning Bibles, why would they burn Bibles and books? Are they trying to get rid of history? Or why did they go burn the churches? So is the truth, they've told us that the Crusades was a war against the Muslims. What if it's the other way around? What if the Crusades was the people of Europe fighting the churches and fighting the Gospels? Because September the 11th was one of the biggest things in the world. And half the world, more than half the world, said it's a lie. Same like coronavirus was one of the biggest things in the world, and more than half the world said this is a lie and it's a scam. But do you know what? The books, the official books, the gospel of coronavirus in 1,000 years' time is going to say there was a virus and millions and billions of people died. Yeah, the gospel of September the 11th, after 1,000 years, is going to say, yes, these airplanes hit the towers. So now, in the same way, the people didn't believe the official story. saying that Jesus Christ was crucified. They didn't believe it. They went out there to get revenge. When they at first they heard, I'll tell you why this story doesn't make sense. The Crusades lasted for 400 or 500 years, and they're mysteriously targeting Constantinople. And Constantinople is known as Jerusalem. Yes, and Jerusalem is where the original major church was. They called it Orthodox. The Vatican only became powerful after the Middle Ages, during and after. So now I've just sent it you. I've sent you a link. You could check it. That they went there. They're burning all these books, Bibles, whatever, and burning the churches down. The Knights of and they totally destroyed it. Yes,
Library of Constantinople destroyed by the Knights of the Fourth Crusade.
And now the Crusades mysteriously ended. Yeah, they ended around the time when a new Caesar came, and this Caesar was called Sultan Mehmed, and he stormed Constantinople. Was this a crusade?
Interesting. Wow. And that makes sense, because we were looking at Mehmet recently, and it's amazing. It shows how history was, they were completely ignoring his existence, and it's impossible to ignore.
Yeah, and do you know what the worst thing is about the invasion of these crusades? They last for 500 years. Now imagine if Jesus Christ has been crucified, the people who killed him, they'll do a crusade, you've got your revenge, it's over. But the people of Europe are going crazy for the next 400 or 500 years, and they keep on going back. And they're telling us that they're telling us the Knights Templar are from northern France and from Germany. But at the same time, they're telling us these people are called Alemannia, or the men of Allah, Alaman, and these people are barbarians at the same time, but they are the Knights Templar. How can they be barbarians who were burning the churches? Yeah, if you study the Aleman, they'll turn around and say these people were killing churches, etc. No, the Alaman, they were going around burning churches. Yes? So this is strange. Yeah, and they were fighting these churches. So it just doesn't make sense. They were fighting the Roman Empire when the Roman Empire was Christian Roman. So it just doesn't make sense unless if we put two and two together of the Crusades. And the Crusader Knights had this cross on. If we look at medieval, medieval or Renaissance is the end of the medieval. Renaissance, crucifixion, paintings. Yeah, there's paintings inside churches, on their walls, and things like that throughout Europe, yes? Yeah? So now the thing is, you'll find hundreds of paintings throughout Europe, yes? Of the crucifixion. Yes, the crucifixion paintings.
Right, the three crucifixes in the lodge.
People could do a Google search. Have you received that Google search?
I just see the Shishita part still. I haven't got anything past that. Oh, wait, it's coming up.
Let's not get distracted to it.
It's coming up now. Yeah, so the thousands of pictures of the Muhammad
So now,
Allah
here
name.
is an example. Here is an example. This is an example of a Renaissance painting of the crucifixion by Antonello de Messina. Yes? And what do you see in the background? Look carefully at that picture. You will see the two waterways. The first waterway is the Golden Horn in Istanbul, with the walls near the Golden Horn, and beyond that is the Bosphorus.
There it is. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, and that's what you will see in half the paintings of these famous paintings, and they're not in one place because people went. Can you imagine right now? In America, many people, yes, they've been to New York. They've been from Los Angeles to New York, then they go back home, holiday. They've been from Seattle to New York, then they go back home. They've been from Dallas and Houston to New York, then they go back home. They've been from Florida, Miami, Tampa, and all these places to New York, then they go back home. They go from Chicago, then they go back home. Yes? So now, during the Middle Ages, everywhere in Europe, from France, from Germany, from Spain, from Italy, everywhere, people were going to Constantinople, Jerusalem. They were going there because they went there because they were waiting for Jesus Christ to come back. He's going to come to this city. Yes? And the crucifixion happened in Jerusalem. So now let's look at all these paintings and let's see what Jerusalem actually looks like. And what do we see? Now, here is
Bosphorus.
we could talk about Sharia law or Shahita law.
But yeah, this is big.
Yes, in Judaism. Or let's get to the exciting things. Yeah. Because you asked about Constantinople. I'm sending you many paintings so that you could go through them. Here is a painting by Gerard David, and this one's from Holland in around the 15th century. Do you know what you could see there? What you can see in that painting, you can actually see, yes, from the 14th, 15th, 16th century, you can actually see the Hagia Sophia, which is a bit darker in color, and you can see the Sultan Ahmed Mosque. I sent you a new picture. Have a look at the new one, the Sultan Ahmed, that looks white and brand new.
Right.
And you can actually see Galata Tower, and Galata Tower for the Galatians.
Wow.
Have you received the new picture?
Yeah.
Oh, there's so many that
wow.
actually it's almost like you can't deny it. It's so worrying. It's like it's worrying. Now here is a picture from Belgium. Let's go from, I've shown you Italy, I've shown you Holland. Now, in case somebody says, hey, people made a mistake, they guessed. Yeah. Now, here is a picture from Belgium by Jules Van Cleef. This is a 15th century Renaissance. And look carefully at this painting, and what do you see? You will see a waterway, and you will see the defenses of the walls of Jerusalem.
The Moorish style,
and do you know, when you look at the walls of Jerusalem, let's compare it to modern Istanbul, and let's see, is there any historical artifacts there? And what do you see in the next picture?
Yep, there's the same Moorish style, the ascending wall, the same kind of octagonal castles.
It's basically exactly the same, because the wall today is damaged. Now, another strange thing is people don't check what the word Jerusalem means. Jerusalem in modern Hebrew, people, how you want to pronounce it, because they created the pronunciation only recently, is Jerusalem. In Arabic, is Darussalam. Now, that's two words, Dar, Usalam. So many people are saying Jerusalem is in Utah, Jerusalem is in Scotland, Jerusalem is in Germany, Jerusalem is in Barcelona, Jerusalem is in India. Now we've got a problem. All these people who are saying Jerusalem is in Scotland, Edinburgh, okay, let's see what they're going to say. The word Jerusalem is two words. It means the word Jer or Dar means city in Hebrew, Aramaic, or Arabic. Choose whichever one you want. Yeah, the first word means city, dar, and the next word means peace.
Salam.
Usalam. Not salam or shalom, usalam. It's two words, dar and usalam. And now we have a religion today in the world that's mysteriously called usalam or islam. So was Islam created by the Prophet Muhammad, or was it created from before? Because this is what the Muslims say. They say the Prophet Muhammad was the final leader of Islam. Maybe in the Middle East they say Islam today, but in these dialects they said it was called Islam. So now people are saying Edinburgh was the city of Jerusalem or Jerusalem. So they're saying it was the city of Usalam. If it was the city of Usalam, okay, now all you people who are saying these things, and then you found all these Arabic coins all over Europe, what do you have to say now? Yeah, these Muslims have been saying for centuries, have been saying, hey, Islam is older than the Prophet Muhammad, and it was the religion of Jesus Christ. And this is why many people said their city was called the city of Islam, because Islam or Islam was the system. Yes, yes, Jerusalem. It's yes, it means city of peace. So Islam means the religion of peace. Islam. So now we've got these problems. And we've got these problems, Jesus Christ. What language did he speak? All the Jewish people have been speaking Arabic for centuries. We can't even find a Hebrew language. Nobody even spoke it. Then they burnt all the Jewish people's Arabic books that Jesus Christ left behind. And then, hey, people are going on crusades. They're burning all these Gospels in Istanbul or in Constantinople. They're burning all these books over there. And Jesus Christ was crucified there. Or if Jesus Christ was crucified in Constantinople, it means the priests who killed him, because the history says that the people who were the priests, okay, they call them Pharisees, Sadducees, blah, blah, blah. They turn around and say that the priests, yes, killed Jesus Christ. Yes, they sentenced him to death. Yes, this is what it says in the Bible. So now, let me send you this information, because this information is totally shocking. Because many people don't seem to think for a few minutes. Yeah. Now, even in the New Testament, even with all its modifications, yeah, it turns out and says that Jesus Christ was sent before basically the Parliament, the Pharisees, and he was sent before the Sanhedrin. This is where the high priest is, and this is where they've got the Pharisees. The Pharisees are the priests and the scribes and the people who are the writers. Yes. And then it says that the Sadducees are there, and they're the rich guys, all the families of the priests, etc., and everything, the businessmen. Yes? Yes, so Jesus Christ was sent before the ruling people of Jerusalem, or the ruling people of Constantinople. Yes? Have you got that?
So what do the Pharisees
Yeah.
mean? Yeah, I'm seeing this. So it says the Pharisees were the forerunners of
Yeah,
the rabbis.
it's like
Okay.
saying today, I could say, hey, it's the Democrats and the Republicans and the House of Congress, etc.
Okay, so the Sadducees they were a powerful group. Okay.
Yeah, it's the ruling governing body of Jerusalem, of Istanbul. So now it's basically these people, the priests and the ruling families.
Gotcha.
And the people in power.
Because to be a priest, your
the-
father would have to have been a priest, and to be a high Sadducee,
Yes,
your father
so
would
as
have to
you
be a high
can- yes,
Sadducee. Okay.
it's the people in power in
Got it.
Constantinople.
Okay.
So now you can see why the Crusades went to Constantinople. And it wasn't just the priests, it was the scribes, the people who were writing these religious books. They sentenced Jesus Christ to death, and they said, Jesus Christ must die. And then they announced, these priests, yeah, as I've sent you photographs, in Constantinople, it was the Orthodox Church, the priests, etc. They announced, we've killed Jesus Christ. Christ is dead. You no longer will need to follow the old law of Moses. You must follow the new law, the New Testament. Now we are going to build the new world order. This was the beginning of the new world order. Do you see what this is? Now my book explains this deeper. I'm giving basic information here. The full information's in my book called Jesus Christ, Skull and Bones, and the Last Crusade. Yes, let's have a look at what they called Constantinople. They called Constantinople the Byzantine Empire. Yes?
Yeah, so what's up with that?
Yes. So now we've got a problem with this. Byzantine Empire? Really? Okay. Now this is because nobody ever checks. Seems like they're going to say Istanbul is the second Jerusalem or the Eastern Jerusalem. Now let's look at, did the Byzantine Empire even exist? Now this is very shocking. Yes? Now have a look. Here, look at these historians. They can't make their mind up. 1 minute they called Istanbul the second Jerusalem. Now they're calling it the second Rome or the Eastern Rome.
Right.
I've just said, yes?
Yeah.
You see, they'll put these things to make people ridiculous and crazy. Then they'll say the city was called Byzantium.
I like this one you pulled up. It says the term Byzantine was invented by German historian Hieronymus Wolff in 1557. So that's pretty. That's
now
pretty telling because that means Mehmet was the Caesar at this time. So maybe it's kind of like a fake government because they're like, we're ignoring the real Mehmet Caesar.
Yes. So now we've got now when people read this, they're not imagining it. Now, can you imagine this now? Who was this Hieronymus Wolff guy? He made up the name. So he created a new name called Byzantine. Yes? And nobody used that word until 200 years ago.
Yeah, then it says it's not even popularized until the 18th century by French scholars. So,
yes.
Yeah, whatever.
And why did they do that? Yeah, why did they do that? Yes. Now, this is the strange thing. Now the thing is, yes, let's have a look at this carefully. Yes, the Renaissance mysteriously started at the same time that the Caesar called Sultan Mehmet or Mohammed, yes, or the Last Crusade, took over Istanbul and they got rid of the church. Yes, and at that time, mysteriously about 100 Greek manuscripts of the Bible. Yes, the Crusaders were burning these Greek manuscripts. Yes. They're burning the churches. Yes. It's because the church said Christ is dead. If they believed the official story, then they won't burn these gospels. They were burning these gospels because they didn't believe it. So the truth is, for centuries, people had crusades because they came back to fight the church because they didn't believe. And the Crusades mysteriously ended. When did they end? When this Caesar Mohammed, yes, invaded with the Russians and the Germans and all these other people. Yes, they turned around and said, because they've changed the history and said he kidnapped children from the Balkans, from Germanic and Russians and Slavs, and he forced them into his army. Yes? But the truth is, it was actually the people fighting against the church. Now, the worst thing is, they're turning around and saying it's called Byzantium. But actually, it wasn't called Byzantium. This empire was actually called the Roman Empire. Now, the people in power, yes, now, this is why I sent you a photograph of the Vatican and before. Now, the people who were the priests of the churches, yes, who claimed that they just killed Jesus Christ, yes, and they wrote these Gospels, the Crusaders were killing them, and they were burning all these churches. Now, when Constantinople was taken by the Caesar Mohammed, yes, do you know what happened? Those people ran away with their Gospels, and they ran to Italy. Yes, and they ran to Rome around the 14th, 15th century.
Refugees, okay.
This is why they set up the Vatican. The history of the Orthodox Church is a lie.
So it's the Turkish Taiwan. What is this then? So the Vatican is an escape from the power of...
From Constantinople, yes.
Wow.
And they're pretending that we're Catholic and they were Orthodox.
And that they're the most important, and everywhere else isn't as important as them, that they're the only ones who have the say on things. That makes a lot more sense. They're upset.
Yes. So now they're upset. So what are they going to do? They're going to make plans for a new world order. Yes. And so you can't understand the New World Order without studying this on Muhammad, believe it or not. So now the thing is, what's even worse is, so these people call themselves the Roman Empire. Now the strange thing is, what most people don't know is, what do you call it? Yes, let me send you the thing is, mysteriously, when these people ran away from Constantinople and they arrived in Italy and they went to Rome, look at what they suddenly did in Rome. The Renaissance started, and look at what they teach you. I've sent you a link from Cambridge University, the first link. Mysteriously, they've rediscovered the civilization of ancient Greece and ancient Rome. What happened is, they said that the history of ancient Rome and ancient Greece was lost for 1,000 years until,
Whoops.
Yes, these people got defeated in Constantinople, the city of Jesus Christ, and then they had to go to Rome. And as you said, they spoke Etruscan there, and Etruscan, yeah, it was actually Latin backwards. Yes.
Yeah, and so in other words, from left to versus right to left,
yeah, and the Etruscans
like Arabic.
called themselves the Rashi people. Yes, and it sounded like Slavic. So now the worst thing is, yeah, many people don't know this. Yes, let me show you now the Crusades. They tell you the story of the Crusades. They tell you where the people were fighting Arabs on camels. Yes. Now let me show you this, and this is going to shock people. Let me show you this. Now this. Yeah, many people don't know this because the history has been, they don't teach you this because they don't bother. Now here is a photograph of Stalingrad. I think it's World War I or II. Yes, you'll find many of these pictures. There's hundreds of them online. Yeah, many people, this will actually shock you as well. Yes. Now, because in the modern day, Europe's modern now, so people don't bother to use horses anymore. Now, here is a picture of the Battle of Stalingrad. And what do you see in this picture, Andreas? This will make you actually start laughing. What do you see?
Camels in the Battle of Stalingrad. Okay.
Yes, camels were common in Northern Europe, Germany, Poland, Russia. They were using them in World War II. Hundreds of them, thousands.
Oh my God.
Can you believe this? And so now the thing is, so these camels that they were fighting, people with camels were fighting in the Crusades, were actually Russians and Germans. Now, another thing is, what they don't tell you is this. Now, this is the most scariest thing. Yes? What people don't tell you is the Russians are using Arabic, the Germans are using Arabic, the Slavs are using Arabic. You can't even find any swords that even have any Greek, Latin, or Hebrew. Now, the strange thing is, during the Crusades, the Slavs called anybody, yes, if you're from Croatia, Serbia, Slovenia, before the Catholic Church got there, the people used to call each other and they used to ask and say, are you an Arabi? If you was an Arab, it meant you were a servant of God. It had nothing to do with the word race. And this is why eventually in Eastern Europe, especially the Ashkenazim Jews, they started using the word Arabi, means the word rabbi. The word meaning changed over time. I've sent you that from the Jewish Virtual Library, Israel Bible Center, and people can check it out. And anybody, you can check Slavic dictionaries. The word Arabi, Rabbi, simply meant a servant of God. And they used the language Arabi, yes, on their swords in Europe, the Slavs. So we got these problems. So the history is not what we think it is. Yes?
Wow.
Is this very shocking to you now?
It makes, the thing is, there's so many things that tie it together, right? Like
so in the Crusades,
Scotland,
when they were fighting the Arabs on camels, they were fighting the servants of God. Everybody knows this. Most professors know this, that you can check it out. The international language of communication, let's say between France, Germany, England, Russia, India, Egypt, Greece, the international language for 1,000 years during the Middle Ages was not Latin. It was actually Arabic. I've sent you links. People can check this out. It's known this, that Arabic was the international global language, Arabic was the language for the Jews for 1,000 years. Can you imagine this?
I think Arabic was the international language of communication of the Middle Ages.
Arabic was the currency of Europe for 1,000 years in gold and silver. We're not talking about the modern coins that we just make in machines. This is actual gold, and we're talking about millions of coins here. Arabic was on the swords of Europe. It's in the books. Yes, and the thing is, we can't find the people who spoke French, who spoke Italian. We can't even find the German language a few centuries ago. And we can't even find the Hebrew language. So now all these people who have found that the Welsh language is linked to Hebrew, or the German language is linked to Hebrew, or the English language, it's actually Arabic, because nobody spoke Hebrew at all throughout the centuries. And then we've got a problem. We can't find the people who were speaking French, or German, or Italian, or Turkish, or anything else. And then we've got a problem. Jesus Christ came here, and they're trying to force it down your throat, saying he spoke Hebrew. How the hell could he have spoken Hebrew when his people were speaking Arabic? And then we've got the Star of David, all these coins during the Middle Ages, in the Star of David, yeah, and they're all in Arabic. And they're going to say, oh, they came from the desert far away. Shall I show you what official historians say? Why there is Arabic on Old Testament characters before the church leaders came from Constantinople. Read this, what official historians say in Wikipedia. They turn around and say that these painters and people, they wanted to express cultural universality in the Middle Ages. At the time, the people were doing crusades saying, hey, we've just found an Arab, kill him. Convert right now or you're going to die. And they're telling us, oh, these people did this for cultural universality or diversity. Can you believe this? Oh, if the coins are here, oh, the people didn't know. Let me show you what they said about in England that they found Arabic coins. You're going to think it sounds like a joke. Have a look at this. Here is from England, a coin. It's got Arabic on it. And do you know what?
Oh, King Opa.
Yeah. Do you know what the museums say and historians? You're going to find this so shocking. I think it says the same thing, what it says in every European country. Yeah, the same thing what it says on the Russian coins. Look at Russia, the other side of Europe. It says, La ilaha illallah Muhammad. No, La ilaha illallah. There is only one God. Now there is no God but Allah. Now the thing is, if you go to official historians, they'll say it's a mistake, and they made the mistakes because the Arabic is upside down compared to the Latin on the other side. They're telling us that ancient Rome and Latin was missing for 1,000 years until the 16th century. And then they're telling us that even in Italy, the people didn't even know how to speak Italian. And then the Italians were writing backwards, which is exactly the same like Arabic. Arabic is actually, realistically, it's Latin backwards. Most people, anybody who investigates it will actually find that. And they're telling us this and that, saying it's a mistake, the people didn't know, oh, it's just decoration. Oh, but these people, they hated Islam so much. They hated Arabic so much. They hated these people. The Muslims are the terrorists, man. The killers. They were killing the people on pilgrims. We're not going to have anything to do with them. Oh, let's put it on paintings. Oh, this Arabic, let's put it on our swords. Oh, let's put there is no God but Allah on the coins. Let's put it on the emperors and princes on their crowns. Let's put it on the gowns and the clothes of the Germanic emperors, etc.
There's a lot of crescent moons and stars on symbols in Ireland, I'm finding as well. There's definitely some connections there.
Yes. So the thing is, many people have realized that World War I and II and many of these other wars were actually created to actually destroy the evidence. Yes. And the Civil War, yeah, that was created to destroy the evidence in the United States. I rest my case. Yes.
My God.
I rest my case.
My
I'm
God,
sure you've got
David.
enough. These people, they told lies. And they're doing this because they've got their plans and their plots because they want to dominate the world. And if you look at it, you'll find that the New World Order, all the contracts were signed. Let me show you this before we go, because it's shocking that around the time that these official Greek New Testaments came out, yeah, they made all these contracts, yes, and they made all these contracts to divide the world, to form the New World Order, the New Testament, blah, blah, blah. Yes. And the thing is, wherever the church went, yeah, the church had its slavery, blah, blah, blah. And many people don't know, after this Sultan Mehmet, what he did after he invaded Istanbul, there were big revolutions throughout Europe. Like 1683 invasion, yes, the Vatican was turning around and saying that people were dying from plagues, blah, blah, blah. But here it is, then people can check it out, that around the time when this Caesar Mohammed, yes, took over, they made plans for the New World Order. And the New World Order was done especially after the invasion of Istanbul. That they made these plans to divide the world between them. Let me see, where is it? Ah, yes, I found it. You could Wikipedia, just type in colonial empire, read through it, and they started making their agreements immediately after the fall of Constantinople. They say it was 1453. It took them another 25 years to settle down in Italy, to conquer Rome, get rid of the Etruscans, blah, blah, blah. Then they were making contracts. And they say this was competition with the Muslims. No, it wasn't competition. Yeah, it wasn't even Muslims, because when you look at some of these paintings of the invasion of Constantinople, the Knights Templar with their crosses, and other people, and Russians and Germans and Poles, yes, that they were in Caesar Mohammed's army, yes, and they were called Romans, yeah, they weren't called Byzantines. So these people ran away to Rome, and then they pretended and said, we're the original Romans. We are ancient Rome. Then they created the fake history of ancient Rome. That's another long story. Ancient Rome didn't exist. Half these buildings, they made them themselves and forged the coins. Hard to believe. So they made these contracts, and then they went round with the Bible, the Vatican and the French armies, the British armies. They went round with Christianity. It doesn't matter if they were Protestant, Catholic, whatever, Orthodox. This is what they did. They went out there and they took the New Testament to build the new world order, or the new system. And when they did that, mysteriously, Europe became 90% a land of serfs, peasants, and slaves. Yes, and they're telling us the beautiful history of Christianity. Yes, the beautiful history of Christianity. Let me just show you the beautiful history of Christianity is this. That it's actually shocking. Yes, let me show you that in Europe, yes, that during the medieval and Renaissance times, everywhere where the church ruled, it doesn't matter if the church is Protestant or Catholic or whatever, 80 to 90% of the people were serfs or slaves. Simple.
Yeah.
And they're telling us this is the beautiful culture of Christianity and the church. Look at what the church did. This is why people joined the Caesar called Sultan Mohammed. Yes, and after he did that, it was a revolution. And the church lost its capital. Constantinople was the greatest city of the world. It was Jerusalem, the city of Jesus Christ. So when they lost that city, they had to run to a small village. Rome only had, in the 15th century, yes, Rome's population was only about a village of 10,000 people. Yes, in the countryside, yeah. And they went there and they had to start again. Too damn they were angry. They must have been so angry. Yes, that's why the Inquisitions happened, blah, 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 everything. And they were burning all the books. They created these new languages, ancient Greece, ancient Rome, ancient Hebrew, blah, blah, blah. Yes.